Are the 2025 Los Angeles Lakers title contenders? That is the big question we're here to talk about today. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Dean Frank. Welcome to Dean Sports Report. Today, I got my guy, Parker Bell from ESPN LA on to talk some ball. Parker, appreciate you for hopping on, man. Just wanted to start right off the bat, I guess. There's a lot going on with this offseason. Obviously, the Marcus Smart pickup yesterday, I guess. It's been a long day itself, but what grade would you give the Lakers this offseason?
Offseason in total, that's a good question. You're looking at, new signings, roster moves. You got DeAndre Ayton, obviously the big splash, but then you got some around the edges moves with Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart, and you're sprinkling a couple two-way guys just today as well. But you're always going to get what you get out of those two-way guys. You hope to see some, solid minutes, getting rid of guys like Goodwin, and then you're replacing them with guys like Chris Mannon. But I think that when you look at the totality of Aiden, Smart, Laravia, we're going to grade that maybe like a B minus or so. You might even lean towards C plus. It's not like it was massive splashes, but at the same time, the reason I would say maybe a B minus is because it's kind of all they had. You know, um, the one signing that I really, really like, maybe of all those three, is actually the Laravia. Surprisingly, Dean, I think that when you got a young guy with potential like that, a very similar build to Rui, but maybe a little more upside when it comes to defense, defensively. I think that that's somebody that the Lakers need. They need those 6'8", 6'7" forwards who can guard 2 through 4, and he's going to provide just that. I wouldn't even mind seeing him start over Rui. So, maybe we can jump into that a little more. But this Smart trade, I think that's what we maybe want to talk about most early on, or not the trade, but the signing. Huge. Luca went out of his way to recruit him. That means that the players are on board with it. The organization's on board with it. And I think that's what you need when you're bringing in a guy like this who's maybe dealt with some health concerns, but you want him to buy in. And the fact that the star players already bought in on it, maybe there's a little more conversation with LeBron and where he stands on it. But I think that this team, go with a little B minus towards C plus for the offseason moves. So far, there might be some more marginal moves, looking towards the next couple weeks.
No, for sure. I was kind of hesitant to run this podcast today because I know there's still been a bunch of talks of some more, maybe even a trade happening real soon. So
Right.
definitely be on the lookout for that, everybody. But I'm on a similar vibe as you. I think I might even be have a little more higher expectations. I think for the Lakers offseason this year, I'm going to give it a solid B plus. Signing Marcus Smart, getting DeAndre Ayton and Laravia for just under 20 mil this year. I think if they if they exceed those expectations of those contracts, then we can look back at it and be like, this might even be an A plus type of offseason because we do need to keep our expectations closer to reality. But I think we were able to assemble this new roster without making any trades, without really giving up anybody. And at the same time, we focused on the needs of really getting, our true starting center along with a top defender in the league. People kind of forget. I think it's just because the past couple of years, Aiton and Marcus Smart have kind of been on smaller market teams, with the Wizards and the Blazers. But DeAndre Ayton was a number one overall pick when he was drafted. Marcus Smart has been a defensive player of the year. So if these guys play to their true talent, and I think it could only, be just kind of going back to us not even having to make any trades. I know we lost Dorian Finney-Smith, which definitely hurt, but I think that this is better than most people think. And it kind of like what you're saying, like playing with what we had. Obviously, the Rockets got better. They got KD. Like there's been a bunch of other signings, especially in the West, which is, so stacked. I think we played with what we could. But I think for us not really having to give up anybody yet, we did pretty well.
Yeah, it's a good point. What people get, I like you grading them a little higher because the thing is, I will grade them higher if we see, obviously, 2020 hindsight, all this stuff. If we see them bring out the best potential out of these
Right.
signings, like you said, it could end up being an A off season. But the thing is, people are forgetting because of free agency recency bias. Like you see big moves, like you just mentioned, KD. They forget that the Lakers made the biggest move of
Right.
potentially the last 5 years
Right.
literally during the season. You have a top 5 player, occasionally top 3 player in the league in Luka Doncic. And of course, LeBron, he's going to be locked in despite all these reports and everything. He's going to be healthy and he's going to be locked in. So you have two of some of the greatest players of all time. You're good, like you're going to be up there. If Luka plays to his potential, I think Brian Windhorst was here in studio one day, and he's like, if you have Luka playing like Luka, I mean, he dealt with so many issues last year that some were even not even talked about. Like he played through a little bit of back issues during the playoffs. If he's playing to his top potential, this team can be contenders. As you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, that's the question. So the answer is this team goes where Luka goes. But talking about just the free agency, what do these moves mean, Dean? mean, Dean. I think you become a defensive first identity, which is tough on a Luka based team. You got Smart, you got Aiton. Your point about he's a former number one pick. I think the rim defense gets a tremendous upgrade because Luka was already bringing out, and Braun, they were bringing out the potential of Jackson Hayes offensively. And now you need somebody who's going to anchor down defensively, and that's potentially Aiton. You get good pick and roll synergy. I think you have a really good veteran to youth balance. Guys like Austin are still really young. I'd still consider Rui young. And then you got these newcomers like Laravia, and you balance them with some vet presence. Again, Luka's a young guy. He's younger than me, which I don't like to admit.
Yeah,
So
that's
a really good,
crazy. That
I know,
that is
I know.
crazy.
So a
That's
really
all.
good balance. And I
Yeah.
think that's going to really turn out well for this team if they start firing on all cylinders. If they get hot at the right moment, this team could again be, another top 4 seed, which they already were last year
Right.
despite injuries.
Yeah, and I mean, people forget. Like, it felt like obviously losing in the first round last year was definitely a bust of a year, but we were a top 3 seed in the West, which has been more stacked than ever, and especially this upcoming year where the West is even more stacked, even getting more star power. Like, it's just as important to be, at the top of that bracket. I think I see kind of the West as in a couple different tiers. I see the Thunder, probably the Rockets and the Nuggets right there at the top, and I think the Lakers are fighting right at the top of the next tier with like the Warriors, the Timberwolves of
Timberwolves,
the
yeah.
world. So it's really up in the air, and that's why it's going to be fun every type of year because there's not really that dynasty team anymore that's taken over, and we kind of talked a little bit about it, but the teams like the Thunder who won it all last year, the Pacers, like these teams have depth. These teams have 7, 8 guys who they feel comfortable with playing. And it's pretty obvious, like this last playoff run, like JJ Redick just did not feel comfortable playing
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it. He played in that whole second half. He played all the starters. So, when we have someone like LeBron who's obviously older, I mean, it. I also want to kind of talk about this too because it's a whole nother conversation. But are we going to see a drop off from LeBron this year a little bit? We can talk about it a little bit, but I think people just forget we were a 3rd seed last year and we only got better. I definitely think we are title contenders, and that's obviously if everyone stays healthy and whatnot. But I think our depth is a lot better going into this year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard because I see Marcus Smart as a guy who potentially could start. I see him as a guy who we talk about starting lineup and then we can talk about closing lineup. Like how like Jackson Hayes would always start, but then you would just play like 10 minutes and
Right.
that was it. I feel like Marcus Smart is a guy who we do want to close the game with. So I guess just going off of that, you think Marcus Smart should maybe start over Rui Hachimura, or should JJ maybe think a little more strategically, put Austin Reeves as a 6 man and give us a little more scoring through our bench?
See, it gets tough that, you're talking about depth. This Lakers team, despite all the nonsense that's been thrown around against them, they actually are relatively deep. Gabe started to actually have decent performances towards the end of the year there. So you got a guy like Gabe Vincent who can give you great solid bench minutes and a great point of attack defender. Obviously not as good as Marcus. But there's names there that like people are kind of forgetting. You now have Jackson Hayes, who's a great lob threat, as the backup, which is
Right.
huge. And then you also have somebody coming off of injury who's a good 3-point shooter and can space the floor, who's also, a power forward center in Maxi Kleber. So
Mhm.
Vanderbilt, I mean, you can just go down the list. There's names that aren't getting thrown around because they're just not necessarily big names, and they may be those 8, 9 guys, but that's to JJ's credit. If they can pull out the best in them, I think that Gabe was playable during those playoff moments, and I honestly think that that's one name that maybe JJ regrets not playing during those times. They ran
So,
Dodo into the ground, and it sucks to see him leave. But I think that there were a few names. Unfortunately, Jackson was just not, or excuse me, Vanderbilt was just not playable. I
right.
think that maybe returning from his 2 feet surgery situation that he had going on was he never really found his offensive game again.
Yep.
Um, so I think that with a full off season where you're getting healthy, this team actually is really deep. But to your initial question, spot starts, I think, is going to be JJ's, bread and butter. You're going to get teams where you're going to have those star guards, and it's like, okay, we're starting off high intensity, high energy. Marcus, you're starting today, and Rui's probably coming off the bench because you want that offensive threat from Austin as well. So I can see a multitude of lineups where you're getting some combinations that honestly in my head I'm already going through them all. They seem fun because at the root of them all is that Luca Ayton LeBron connection. And then you just kind of sprinkle in if you want a little more defensive focus, more rebound focus. So I, this is going to be one of the more fun NBA seasons I think we've had in years with all the moves that have happened. And OKC obviously coming off a dominant season. So I'm just excited to see how JJ cooks and if he can cook, because that's a whole nother question. Was it just
Mhm.
a rookie, beginner's luck, or is he actually that schematic genius that we're hoping he is?
For sure, and in a way, I feel like the Lakers kind of feel like underdogs going into this year. Like the
Yeah.
Luka trade happened last year, and at the start, it was like, is this is LeBron and Luka the best duo in the league? Like, are they instant title contenders and whatnot? And we kind of saw how everything that kind of went down. Is it the chemistry? Is it the depth with the Lakers? Whatnot? We saw that these younger teams with more depth were the ones that actually made it through, and kind of more like the superstar type of team is probably over. So now we have a full offseason with Luca. LeBron's obviously not getting any younger, but I think we know what we're going to get with LeBron. And I know there's a lot of Laker fans and people out there that might be saying LeBron might even be hurting the Lakers at this point. With his contract, and he's too old. There's a lot of Laker fans that actually want LeBron to leave, which is pretty crazy. But I mean, he made second all team last year, so it's like he's still a top 10 player in the league. I think I saw an interesting quote earlier as well. Is like, this is probably the best top heavy all star type of talent that we'll have with Luca as a Laker. Like having LeBron as his duo, like I don't think we'll ever have, like a second guy that's going to be like LeBron. You know what I mean? Within this Luca era. So I do think that this is Luca's team, and it's his time to take over. It's a new era, but at the same time, like we do need to win now, and I think that's kind of how Palinka should look at it. I think he's
Hmm.
doing a great job right now, but I would not be surprised if I see someone like a Dalton Connect leaving pretty soon, because this roster is definitely win now. So it's a weird mixture of win now, but also look to the future, right? Because we know Luca is the future face, but it's not like we're just going to throw a year away. So I guess just looking forward, do you think this talent, you think this roster as it is right now is enough, or do you think there needs to be a couple more moves to be made? Um, before we get into training camp and whatnot.
It's a great question. That you mentioned Dalton, and we haven't even talked about him this entire episode. I think that that's just a testament to it's unfortunate, but he has not performed honestly to his expectations at the moment. And of course, you want to give leeways to young guys, but I think that the difficulty in his game is that there's some slight IQ issues and defensive issues, and that's exactly what the Lakers need. They're
I
lacking
mean,
that
even
already.
Bronny had a better summer league than him. You know what I
Look
mean?
just at summer league, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would, exactly to your point, trust Bronny more on the floor at this moment than I would Dalton, and Dalton's got some more height and supposedly shooting at a higher clip. I think that if you were to package him, with maybe a few of those names that not a few, but like a name that we mentioned, like a Gabe Vincent, who is a ready to win now player, like to a competitor, and you get a young, another point of attack defender, somebody who's a little lengthy. I don't know names. That's the thing off the top of my head, because things are
Right,
so limited right now where it's like
right.
only Rob sees the whole board, as they say on our shows here at ESPN LA. There could be somebody who we're not thinking of, maybe a Matisse Thybulle, who, like, because the thing is with the cap and the contract situations, everything has to match.
Right.
So it's going to be a really big chess game. But
Right.
I would just say if they did stick how they were right now, I mean, Dalton's just not going to get the minutes that people wanted him to get when he got drafted, and I think that's okay. This team still has, I think, the bodies and the depth to make a run. And again, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, it's just the team goes as Luka goes. You got guys like Laravia, Rui, who were shooting over 40% last year. Granted, Laravia is a little bit of a smaller sample size, but Rui really proved himself
Right.
as a high, off the pass shooter. And I think that catch and shoot. If they create that with Laravia, if they create that with guys like Gabe, if they're still with the team, you got 3 or 4 guys who could potentially shoot around that 35% up clip. Marcus Smart, throughout his career, he's an average three-point shooter, but that's not what he's there for. He'll hit them maybe when it matters. So if you got guys like that who are hitting when it counts, you look back at that 2020 team. I think I got Caruso over here somewhere.
Yeah. Shout out Caruso, Lance Stevenson.
Guys who maybe weren't the greatest three-point shooters before Braun came to their team, before a playmaker like Luka and LeBron were there. Obviously not Luka at that time, but like a GOAT playmaker, you might get hot at the right time. And I can see
Right.
somebody like, we keep saying his name over and over, but like Laravia having a 40% year, but this time at a much larger and sample size. So
Mhm.
could be maybe even Kleber's a upwards of 37% 3-point shooter, and that's what the Lakers need right now is some 3-point shots as long as they're playing D on the other end.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Okay, sweet. I think we talked some ball there, and not that I want to stray away from that at all, but I wanted to do a little segment, which is just very general, and I'll give you some time to think. But just what is your biggest Lakers hot take at the moment for this current Lakers team? I can go first, just so I can get the ball rolling because I
Good,
was thinking
good.
this a little bit, but I think the LeBron James era with the Lakers has been pretty underwhelming. And it hurts to say because I'm a big LeBron guy. I'm a big Lakers fan. And like, I'll have his back when, my friends back at school, we're talking all that shit. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But really think that we are beginning to see the end of the LeBron and the Lakers era. And kind of like I mentioned, this is Luca's team. So it is really, it's not that it's going to hurt LeBron's legacy because like we talked about, especially on our SB's our red carpet interview questions, and that's what got me thinking because so many people were cutting LeBron's Lakers era.
Yeah,
So I really thought about it. And I'm like, you know what? Sure, we got the bubble championship. We've made it to a couple Western Conference Finals, but other than that, it's been a bunch of first round exit. We didn't even make the playoffs in that first year. So I think for someone who is the GOAT like LeBron, it has been a very underwhelming reign with the Lakers. So I think this year really needs to be it. Like if the Lakers don't make the championship this year, I think the LeBron era with the Lakers will be a bust, and we're going to have to start looking towards the future because you have someone with LeBron's type of caliber, and we're getting cut in the first round every year. It's not going to make it. So having these two top 5 stars in the league, LeBron and Luca, like it is win now. So it's hard to say that. I know we're looking to the future. I know this is Luca's team, but LeBron is still here. He's still a top 10 player in the league. Like he's still probably going to average around like 23, like 6-6. But I think it's going to be interesting to look at his stats this year because kind of tying in everything I was trying to say is I would not be surprised if I saw a bit of a down year from LeBron. I think, we've seen a full offseason now with him and Luca. Luca's going to take that step forward. He hopefully lost some weight. Hopefully
yeah,
Luca can have an MVP type of year. And if so, that would probably mean LeBron takes a little bit of a step backwards.
yeah. So a lot to unpack there in your hot take. And I want to kind of react to yours as I still
Yeah.
kind of formulate my hot take
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
comes to the Lakers, because that's one thing about me, and you'll learn as we get to know each other more. And I do need to get better at it. I'm not much of a hot take artist. I like to just say my thoughts, and sometimes they don't
Sure.
sound like hot takes, but maybe
No,
somebody will tell me
yeah,
they are. But I think what you're saying there is true. There's stuff that backs it. It not necessarily a hot take, but just more of a supporting argument with yours. I think that this Lakers team might win more games with LeBron playing less. You look at how JJ wanted to build his system. It's built for movement and not necessarily isolation, which almost sounds counterintuitive with Luca's game as well. But I think that there's a formula for movement with Luka, despite him being one of the. I mean, but besides Trey Young, since those two have been drafted, like only maybe Shea, those three are like when it comes to having the ball in their hands, they time of possession, it's those three. They're like the top three. I'm sure we can find numbers to back that. But the thing is, JJ's built for movement. So with LeBron playing a little less because he can't get up and down the court as much as he used to, I agree with you. I think it's maybe less, maybe more of a lukewarm take. Think eh, think 2014 Spurs, Tim Duncan. When you want to see a formula for this Lakers championship run, if they are to make a run in 25, not that 2020 bubble Bron. He was out there. Here he is.
Yeah.
he was out here moving after Lance, but Caruso, he was out there moving and still, high outlet, quick outlet passes to AD. He was out there going, court from one side of the court to the other in like however many seconds. He was still him. And I think that's just not there anymore. So if we're gonna dive into maybe a formula that backs your statement, LeBron can't be the alpha. And here we go. We're already talking about it. We're already seeing it. It's Luka's team. Luka is going to be the alpha, but LeBron can still be the anchor. He can still be the mental anchor. He can still be the offensive anchor in terms of like, let's get this into the action. But Luka, you're the man. Um, and I think that's like the biggest comparison I can see is maybe that 2014 Spurs team where the offense will be different, but you're looking at a aging superstar, another aging superstar.
Right.
As long as you accept your role, which obviously, LeBron hasn't had to do that before. If he does so, then I think that they can make some magic happen. But that also involves a lot of pressure on guys like Austin to
Yep.
really step up.
Yeah, that's what we
You,
saw in the playoffs. Yeah, he didn't step up, and that's it. All kind of fell apart. So it's all in the role players and the extra guys. And sorry to cut you off, but it's like it feels almost weird to talk negatively about LeBron.
it,
Like,
it
but we're
hurts,
not.
man.
But it's like we're not even talking like he's 40 years old. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And we're still talking about him being the best guy on the Lakers. So it's just like I think I think it's just rather than kind of stay away and be like, LeBron can still be the best player in the league. Like let's try and force it a bit. I think it is time for him to take a step back and let Luka cook and be that guy that, not that he doesn't have not the agility is just like stamina in general to do it. But
hmm
if we want to make a long playoff run, like we do somewhat need to save him a little bit.
yeah.
And that's
It,
not at
it's
all what happened last year.
it's almost like you want first quarter control from Braun and then fourth quarter closings. And
Yeah.
outside of that, let the kids run. Let the kids run loose.
Yeah.
Aiton can still get up and down the floor. He's again another guy younger than me. There's
Yeah.
there's so many dudes who are young two-way guys who can really make this thing work. And Luca can get under their skin and get them going. But it is going to be really tough to see that transition. And I mean,
Yeah.
we're getting calls daily over here at ESPN LA from guys who are just like, I'm done with the LeBron era. I'm
Yeah.
done with the LeBron experiment, they're calling it. Like he hasn't ingratiated himself to the Lakers community. And honestly, a lot of that is just and I'm one of them. I've never been a LeBron hater, but I'm a
Right.
Kobe. I mean, you might as well just go all the way. I'm a Kobe
No,
stan,
me as well.
got
Me as
his
well.
got him all over my room and everything.
Yeah. My puppy's name is Kobe. Like
See?
that's how we grew up. It's like
Yeah.
we weren't LeBron fans growing up, but if the Lakers are gonna win, I'm all for it. So that's kind of just tying into like I think I expected more as a Laker fan. Like I expected us to have multiple championships. So
You know,
this
and
year he has to cut it, you know?
and that part's layered,
Of
because
course.
I've never been one to just like full on hate LeBron. I've always been a supporter of him, and I think that he's will probably end up the GOAT when you look at statistics wise. The thing is, though, you look at him when he came in, people are trying to say he didn't ingratiate himself to LA. It's like he chose LA. That's step number one. Granted, whatever role Magic played in that, LeBron probably wanted to be a Laker at some point in his life. He had that thought in his head. It would be cool to be a Laker. So Lakers fans, you should be like, oh, thank you. And then secondly, he had that team of baby Lakers like in the fourth seed before he hurt his groin, and it's to no fault of his own,
Right.
And most of the hate isn't about the game. It's just about the outside noise and how he acts on social media, all of that
Yeah.
such. And it's like there's so many other players who are also very similar to LeBron in that aspect. You know, they're mysterious on social media. They'll be petty at times.
Yeah.
It just comes with the nature of being an egoist, you know, somebody who is grown up
The
in the spotlight.
the blame
And
got to fall on someone, and
exactly.
he's the face. Like it's him. Yeah.
Exactly. And as we've stalled all this time talking about
Yeah,
LeBron,
yeah.
I still
Let's
have
hear it.
not come up with a hot take.
No,
But you know what? Actually, I think if we're gonna go hot takes, Lakers specifically, um, I think they end up 2 seed.
okay.
I believe
Behind the
that
Thunder?
yes, I believe that the Thunder are going to be the 1 seed yet again. They won't be as dominant in terms of their record. What was their record last year? I mean,
It's
OKC,
almost 70, was right
yeah,
under
I think it was like
70?
60,
Yeah.
64 or something. 68, right under 70.
Yep.
So I don't think they're going to be at a 68 pace again, but they might get upwards of 60 yet again. And the reason I think that the Lakers are going to get the second seed is I think the West is just going to get even more competitive. We've been
Yeah.
saying these last few years
No,
how
it's
competitive it is, and
yeah.
it just got better. And I think that the most consistent team that we're going to see is going to be OKC, but then secondly to them will be Lakers. And that is a hot take because it sounds like the bias coming out of me, but and sure, you know what? Yeah, a little biased. I gotta admit, you know.
There's always gonna be a little biased. Like, it's just us as Lakers fans, like, it's championship or bust every year, so that's just how it's gonna be.
No, exactly. It's just I do really believe it. Like I think that there were injuries that really held them back, and they were still 3. And it's like even in the playoffs, you know, you try not to make excuses, but Austin had a little toe issue. LeBron knee, he still had, you know, he had to get a little bit of like work done on it. And with Luca in his back, you get this much of an off season where you have a summer of just getting better. Luca, skinny Luca, I'm a full believer. He's here.
Yeah,
I
I it
I
looks
think
I
that
mean,
it's
yeah.
possible. While maybe not probable because health is the scary issue. That's why it's a hot take, but I think it's possible.
No, love it, man. I appreciate you for coming up with the hot take, even though that's not your thing.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're busy, but I finished the podcast last time when I did it with the boys, Zaylen and Jonathan. Shout out, but
The guys,
a
shout
little
out.
a little quick game. So I want to do something I just thought of it just now, but let's draft all-time Lakers doing like a 3v3 tournament style. So like you can think matchups and everything, like what would fit best. 3v3 style. I'll let you go first. You're the guest. All-time Lakers. Who you got? Who you got taking first?
All right. So, oh boy, we're getting strategic. Am I on the clock? Is there like a minute, you know, like a
No, I
real
mean,
draft type of thing?
I think this will go well just like posting this because I think the Lakers obviously have like the most superstars as any franchise. So you can't
Yeah, I
really
mean,
go wrong, but in a 3v3 like playground type of style is what I was thinking. Like, and no, you're not on a clock, but anytime within the next couple minutes would be great.
I know. I just sit here. I'm like, let me go to the board. Okay, because I want to get strategic here. I want to
Yep.
get when it comes to just like an unstoppable trio, and obviously your pick might throw me for a riff, but
Yeah.
I'm
Snake
gonna go
draft, by
with
the way. Snake draft, by the way.
copy.
Okay.
I don't want to give you that, but I think that I can still make a competitive team if I do. So I'm going to go with one of the most unstoppable forces. And the moment I pick this, I know that nobody's going to be able to guard him in his prime. I'm picking Shaq at number 1.
That was great. I literally didn't know how this was going to go. So you can't go wrong, but let's see how it plays out. I don't think you'll take another big man, so I'll leave that for a bit. I got to go back to back Kobe and LeBron here with my
Yep.
1 and
See,
2. We'll
I,
say Kobe 1 just because I'm a diehard Laker fan. LeBron
hmm
2, can't go wrong there. But the playmaking skills, the scoring ability, like on a playground, that would be insane. I don't think I've ever heard of like even really thought about a Kobe LeBron duo. That would break everything. So I'm gonna start with that too, and then let's see where you go for 2 and 3.
the Kobe Shaq, or excuse me, the Kobe LeBron duo is dirty, absolutely dirty. I mean, just think about the IQ that's on that team alone. You're already locked in. Um, but who's stopping Shaq at the moment? So, well, we got to see
Mhm.
where I go here. Obviously, I need a playmaker. Um, the man that I spent the most time watching throughout my high school, the man the person I like to pride myself as, like, just somebody who I used to try to embody my game after. That's Magic Johnson, all the way through and through. Now, obviously, my team's struggling when it comes to some, deep shots and everything, but that's not the game we're playing. So I'm gonna go Magic. And then do I get this
Yeah,
last pick snake
yeah,
wise? It's a trio, right?
yeah.
Do we have a backup? Do we have like a fourth man to kind
We
of
could
come
we
in?
could have a little fourth man coming off the bench. That could work.
Okay,
It's
maybe,
it's
maybe,
it's
maybe.
all up in
We'll
hypotheticals. I mean, obviously, I think we took the top. Well, actually, that's not even true. I'm not going to say anything yet, but Magic's a good pick. Yeah, you need some sort of a ball playmaker that can shoot because yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'll let you talk. Let's just
and
do the three. Let's do the three. So you
yeah,
take just one more person.
and I like that. I'm like trying to like
No, you got to get into it.
trying to see how my team can actually
Yeah,
go against your team. And obviously, nobody at this moment is guarding LeBron James, and that's going to be excuse me, Kobe. Nobody's going to be guarding Kobe. I think
right.
that Magic can handle against Braun. While it will be tough, it's going to be a good matchup. And obviously, I'm not an old head, but I'm an old soul, so I love the Magic Shaq combo.
Mhm.
Ah, gosh, yeah, that pick and roll would just be beautiful. But I need somebody who can just create their own shot, get buckets, and this is going to be tough
Yeah, it
because
is tough. I'm looking at a list. I'm kind of up in the air with you as well.
I'm looking at eras. I'm thinking about eras. I should have pulled up a list myself.
Dude, yeah, I can take
Lakers,
someone
Lakers,
else right
Lakers.
now that I don't think you'll take. So if you want some extra time,
Send it in because I know you need a big.
yeah,
We're doing this snake draft, not snake wise, but
yeah.
it's gonna
I
happen.
I don't think you were gonna go double center here. So I'm taking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the
There it is.
captain. I was gonna say like I feel like it was consensus top five, and then I just realized like we totally just skipped upon the guy who was the all-time scorer for
Yeah.
for the past however long. So taking Kareem, and my team is Kareem, LeBron, and Kobe Bryant. That is a pretty
Whew.
dominant top three. Um, we'll see who you go last year. I think there was someone else who could have been an iffy pick, but let's see how you ended out, and then we could look at matchups real quick.
So, okay, this is where people are gonna come in and have conversations about they were playing plumbers, blah blah blah. I think this man is the 1 to 3 exception who could play in any era and could knock down a shot from anywhere on the floor. And if you've ever used him in like 2K11, you'll know that on the ballpark, this man was goated. And I'm talking the logo. Throwing Jerry West, and I got a team of just old heads. And you know what? I'm riding with it because that's a pretty dangerous team when you look at how their game matches up with each other. So I
I
got
think that's the right pick.
Magic, Jerry, Shaq, 2 ball handlers, one who can create his own shot, and Magic can as well. Um, and then Kareem, Shaq, that matchup. We can get into it a little bit, but there's our 2 teams.
Yeah, no, it's a
I like it.
perfect like 2K playground type of vibe.
And I guess if we were to have an honorable mention, um, I growing up was a huge, and maybe this will be more of just a fun pick, but I think growing up for me, I was a massive. I want another 3-point shooter, and he was the clutchest player in my generation at that time. D Fish.
Yeah, that's where I was looking honestly because I was thinking just point guard, just like I mean, you needed a guard. Obviously, Matt John's like a little bigger for a guard, so
Yep,
that's what I was thinking. But just name wise, I feel like you kind of have to go with the logo. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
my honorable mention would probably just be AD. Had to give some respect to him as well. But
Hmm.
he is a top power forward of all time, so maybe top five, I'll say. So sweet. Well, if y'all are still listening, I appreciate you. Let us know who you
Yeah,
thought
I know
won
we
that.
it took
Yeah,
us a minute, but we got there.
no, we
As
got there. Yeah, I'll clip it up and whatnot because
yeah,
I mean, you could. There's no right answer. Like you can talk whatever. But Parker, man, I appreciate you. Was super fun talking some hoops. Would love to have you on again. Maybe later into the season or whatnot, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if there's another trade that happens soon. But I think we both have a similar vibe around off season, like around the B type of grade. I think we are expecting us to be still at the top of the West. You said top two. I think I think realistically, I'm gonna say like at 4 or 5, but hopefully make a longer run in the playoffs. But you never know. You never know with this Laker team. It's gonna be super exciting to watch. So Parker, appreciate you. Appreciate you for all the help at ESPN LA as well. And I will see you tomorrow in office, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man.
Sweet.
Appreciate it.